It's always intrigued me that a person could be and make a business out of being a futurist. So, how does that work? How do your clients, what do they get when they hire a futurist?
Usually when someone wants to look into the future, they're in an industry that's either poised for fundamental change or has just gone through a fundamental change and they're going, what the heck is going on? So it's that moment in time when people realize that the uncertainty is a whole lot greater than they realized. Mm-hmm. And so what I do and when I come in is I help them understand uncertainty. I don't predict.
Yeah, I know you. I've heard you say that, but say more if you can about
Yogi
the difference between a
Yogi Berra put it right when he said prediction's really difficult, especially when it's about the future. Prediction is logically impossible as long as you believe we're in a world where our actions in the present affect outcomes in the future. So the way I think about looking into the future is that you're looking at into a cone of uncertainty. You're basically mapping a cone of uncertainty and say, how broad is the cone? What's inside it? What are the signposts to look for that a particular future is coming to pass? And in that sense, the trick is if you draw that cone too narrowly, you're going to miss things. You're going to be surprised. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's generally not a good thing.
Right.
If you draw it too broadly, you're going to end up wasting your time.
Doesn't mean much.
Looking at stuff. It's boiling the ocean to get a cup of salt. Yeah. So the art is to get it just right and then figure out the granularity you need to look out.
I'm while you're describing that, I'm thinking of that classic sort of hurricane prediction thing that widens as it goes. But as each day ticks forward, a new cone gives you a little better idea of which were the real outliers and which of the outliers has become the mainstream.
Well, and it's no coincidence. I mean, as a forecaster, I'm basically an intellectual rag picker who will pick up methods anywhere I can. And the cone of uncertainty is a phrase consciously borrowed from meteorology.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and like that, and like a meteorologist looking at the track of a hurricane, if you're going to forecast, and for God's sake, forecast often,
right.
Keep updating reforecast. Based on information and not be afraid to change
the
direction.
Trend of the forecast is a very good indicator of sort of what is happening. As a pilot, I often watch the sequence of forecasts, and if they're worsening, the weather's going to be worse than forecast.
Right, and when you're flying your plane, the future's arriving awfully quickly.
Yeah, and you'd like to have some general cone.
Right. And so, in that sense.
But do you think, maybe I'll toss this out as an idea, but do you think in some ways that it's harder to predict the immediate future than it is the sort of intermediate or even far future? If you squint at the future, you can see the outline of what's likely, possibly to happen. But if you try and figure out what the stock market's going to do tomorrow, it's virtually impossible.
Right. Well, the first thing about forecasting is to know when not to make a forecast, when things are so uncertain or there are just too many variables. And again, avoiding the trap of trying to predict. That is always the road to ruin.